Hi again, everybody. It's Kevin Canessa coming to you from the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com on this, the 17th day of January in the year 2022. Sure hope you're enjoying your Monday, no matter where it is you are in the country. A gloomy, gray day here in the Northeast and Kearney. It's been just cold all day, but I guess we are lucky in comparison to what our friends to the north and west got. My mother lives in Newton in Sussex County, and I think she said they got about 6 inches of snow today. And my stepfather was out doing snow blowing and all this sort of stuff. So I guess we're lucky when you look outside and you see there's very little snow out there left. Even stuff from the storm last week is pretty much gone. So hope you're all warm and relaxed on this Monday evening. And as you do every Monday night, you welcome me into your home so that I can bring to you this week's news. And our front page story this week is tragic. There is no doubt about that. And we learned about this last week when the Bergen County Prosecutor's Office sent out a news release that a couple in North Arlington, one stood accused of murdering his 2-month-old baby, and the mother was charged with endangerment of a child as well. And this all started in late December. One of the two called 911 and told police that they had a baby who was non-responsive. And police came. They took the baby to Hackensack University Medical Center. And a couple of weeks later, unfortunately, sadly, the baby, aged 2 months, died. And that was January 5th. And then just a little under a week later, the father of the baby was rearrested and charged with first-degree murder. He was out after the first arrests. They did the first round earlier at the latter part of December, and then after a thorough investigation, they determined that the injuries the baby sustained were reportedly and allegedly at the hands of her own father. Now, folks, you can argue this all you want on social media, but we don't see this as the same type of case as what happened in Kearney, October 25th, 2020. There have been a lot of people who have done so, in my belief, irresponsibly. This is an apples and oranges case. The similarity is one thing, and that a young person died. But other than that, there's nothing similar at all. And to compare the two investigations is an apples and orange investigation. To say that the crimes are the same is an apples and orange investigation. And that's why there have been a lot of comments that have been made on our page that have crossed the line and are just simply not true. There were some that I think were politically charged and that took cheap shots at the prosecutor in Hudson County and also the mayor of Kearney. And you will notice that a good portion of those comments were taken down. I don't like to do that. I really don't. But some of the comments that were made were just not responsible. And because they fall under our purview, we don't want to be a place where innuendo, lies, and misconceptions spread. So while I won't call it censoring, I will call it doing the responsible thing. And I would hope that even with this video, the comments below it don't get out of control again. If you want to make comparisons to what happened in Kearney in late 2020, go ahead and do it somewhere else. Although I would suggest you don't, because it's not a comparable situation. But if you're going to do it here, we're going to take them down, because it's not fair to anybody involved, including the professionals and the police and the lawyers and everybody who is involved. So it's a horrific enough case as it is. Let's not make it any worse than it needs to be. Please, thank you. Thank you. And unfortunately, the life of a baby was taken. It shook me up. It shook me up. I know that much. And I think the words of Mayor Dan Prunty of North Arlington are exactly what needs to be said at a time like this. And it's not Monday morning quarterbacking when you say, after something like this happens, if you are somewhere and you suspect a situation like this is happening or brewing, it is vital to speak up. And people just don't want to speak up. They take it as if it's none of their business. But if you hear a baby screaming or an adult screaming while a baby's crying, and you don't say anything, in the minds of a lot of people, I think that's complicity. And that's sad. And so what Mayor Prunty said about hearing or seeing something and speaking up is of utmost importance. And it doesn't have to do just with that, a case that would involve a child. Domestic violence, any kind of abuse, child abuse, sexual abuse, you name it. There's so much going on out in this world that if people were more responsible and listened more and knew what was going on and paid attention to what was going on and spoke up, this stuff wouldn't necessarily get to the point where it does, but it is happening that way. So the words of Dan Prunty, read them in the story on page 1. If you hear, suspect, see something that you think might be wrong, even if it's not, it's better to be safe than sorry. So please read the story. Check out Mayor Prunty's words, and who knows, hopefully we can avoid something like this from ever happening again. On the bottom of page number 1 is a story that comes to us out of Belleville. Councilwoman and Deputy Mayor Naomi DePena and her husband Alan DePena are putting this program together. It's called Hope to Courage. And Councilwoman brought it up at the Belleville Council meeting last week when she was discussing about how people are going through so many different things with COVID and depression and stress and things of that nature. So is that you? If it is, take a look at this story. You can certainly benefit from it. It is for Belleville residents, but if I'm not mistaken, anybody can take advantage of the program. It's an online or a program that she's put together and looks very, very promising to help people get into a better state of mind mentally. So check it out. Page number 1. Naomi DePena does a lot of good stuff for the community that is not political, and this is certainly one of them. We'll move inside this week's edition of The Observer, and the North Arlington Borough Council reorganized a couple of weeks ago, and we have the mayor's message. He delivers the state of the borough every year, and he's looking very optimistic, Dan Prunty, speaking of the man we spoke about just a little while ago. And congratulations to the winners of the council race, Brian Fitzhenry and Allison Sheedy, both of whom were re-sworn in for new terms. And there's an election coming up in North Arlington, so there's going to be a lot on that. Moving along, what a crazy fire on Friday night in Passaic. Did you see it? You probably did, because if you had the news on at any point, if you had the TV on at any point, it was all over the place. And I honest, I was listening to the scanner traffic as it was happening, and I was watching Mayor Hector Laura's Facebook page, and it was some of the scariest stuff I've seen in a long time, man. We were lucky. They were lucky that more chlorine didn't ignite or explode, or they didn't have to evacuate any of the people who lived nearby. But there was a contingent of local fire departments that went to Passaic to assist, including the Lyndhurst Fire Department ladder number 1, or maybe it was engine 1, forgive me if it is, and they stationed on Route 21. That's how close this factory was to Route 21. They were stationed on 21 and were shooting water from their tower ladder into the fire from 21, which was closed. And they weren't the only ones. Belleville, North Arlington sent units. Kearney sent Marine 3, but unfortunately by the time it got there, it was sent back because of the conditions for whatever reason. I don't know if the tide was too low or what it was, but Chief Mastandria says that they sent them back as soon as they got there. So there was a lot of local firefighters who were sent up there to this massive 11-alarm fire. I don't remember an 11-alarm fire ever and fortunately, there were no serious injuries in this fire. How that happened, I don't know. But a lot of guys and gals were going down, though, because of the ice. They were saying that at one point it was so cold that as the water was just coming out, some of it was freezing by the time it got in the air. I mean, and icicles were forming on all the hoses and on the firefighters' helmets, and it was just a terrible situation. Let me tell you one other thing, a couple other things about that fire, too. The city of Passaic's health inspector director is Ken Pincus, who is Kearney's former health officer, and he did a fantastic job on the scene. You could see him. He was on with the mayor, and that mayor, this is no disrespect meant to any of our mayors because we love them all. This guy's crazy and great. He was live on Facebook like 12 times the night of the fire. I shouldn't say crazy because he was just so animated, and he really is just I've never seen the mayor handle a situation the way he did. He was so cool about it, and he was just so transparent about what was going on and telling people to stay the heck away and things of that nature. If you get a chance, check it out. His name is Hector Laura, and he is mayor of Passaic. Great job from Mayor Hector Laura, and, of course, to all the first responders who went to that fire, over 200 of them in total. We have a Bridging the Gap this week from an eighth grader at Washington Middle School. I got to thank Amy Morello for getting this for us. We have another one coming next week, and in this one, I am not going to tell you his name because I want you to pick it up, but he says that he and his classmates don't belong learning in front of a computer. He's sure to get people talking, but he says there's no way that after doing this for 1.5 years in his sixth grade part of his sixth grade year and all of his seventh grade, that he and his classmates are learning what they need to learn at a computer screen. So check it out. Just remember, though, an eighth grader means he's 12 or 13, maybe 14 years old. So go easy on him. But this kid really took a very, very strong stance, and a bold one. A very bold one. So great job out of him. And, of course, to Amy for providing these Bridging the Gap. She's got some really, really talented writers for eighth graders. And I'll tell you what, it's a pleasure to read their stuff. Very, very little editing required, an editor's dream. And Amy Morello is a great teacher. She truly is. As we move on, this week's editorial. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I will next week because one of my dear friends, and maybe he is yours too, Robert Osborne, Ozzy, Deputy Chief of the Kearney Fire Department, is retiring at the end of the month after 38-plus years on the job. And I'll tell you this, there has been in my career very few people who have had as much of an impact as Ozzy has, going back to the very first time I met him back in 2006. He and Joe Mastandria, the chief, and, oh boy, there were so many guys who were there that day. Doug Tilley was there, Darren Elliott, a whole bunch of guys. But Ozzy invites us to come over and watch confined space training, and Lisa was a subject of the confined space training. They pulled her through one of these plastic tubings. It was my first week on the job, and Ozzy wanted us there, and from that moment on, I realized what a special human being he was. And he's retiring the 25th. He's having a walkout. And when I think about somebody who represents a department, I think of Ozzy and the Kearney Fire Department. And again, that's no disrespect meant to any of the other fine women and men who have represented the department, whether as chief, rank and file, firefighters, captains, you name it, other deputy chiefs. But Ozzy has a special place in that department, and with him goes 38-plus years of experience. And I feel kind of bad for all the soon-to-be firefighters who will never have had a chance to work with him, because his institutional memory and his knowledge is what he loves to share with other people. And he's so dedicated to this job. He could have retired probably 13 years ago. I'm just thinking, if you do the math, 25 and out. But he stayed for 38. And All I know is that as he prepares to say goodbye, I'm going to miss him terribly, and I'm sure his colleagues are too. And I don't think there's going to be an exception to that rule, because you know how with most people, you always hear somebody say something negative about a human being. I can't remember ever hearing something negative said about him ever. So, Ozzy, congratulations on your retirement. We're going to miss you, and congratulations on a fantastic 38-plus year career. Jim Haig has sports this week, and I hope you'll check it out. There is something from Kearney, there is something from Harrison, and he's got an athlete of the week from Nutley High School. I'm not telling you who they are, because I want you to pick up the paper and read it for yourself. Steve Tonelli took his 4th oath of office as a Bergen County Commissioner. Hard to believe he's already served God, is that right? Could that be right? Yeah, 4th term. Unbelievable. So congratulations to Steve. He's not the chairman this year, but they rotate it every year. And, of course, as we do every week, 2 pages of classifieds with rentals, apartments, homes, jobs, you name it, it will be in this week's edition of the Observer's Classifieds. Gone a little bit longer than usual, so I apologize for that, but I am very grateful to anybody who is still watching right now, 16 minutes past the hour, and I hope that you all stay warm. Enjoy what remains of your Monday, and of course we will see you back here 1 week from today, or if anything else breaks during the course of the week, we'll join you live right from wherever it is. From the newsroom of The Observer and TheObserver.com, Kevin Knessa signing off for now. Hope to see you back here again very, very soon. Take care, everybody.